All right, what's good, y'all? So we're going to take a look at today's SAT question of the day. This one's a multiple choice question. So it says, which of the following are solutions to the given equation where a is a constant and a is greater than 30? So there are a couple different ways you could do this problem. Anytime you have like a Roman numeral question where you have like multiple answers you have to consider, one method you could take is trial and error, where you plug in each answer choice to the equation and see which one gives you a true statement. We're going to take a different approach with this problem, though. I'm going to show you guys a different method, an algebraic method called factoring. So we're going to solve this using factoring to reinforce those algebra skills. So the first thing I notice here is that my equation on the right side is in factored form. And usually anytime you have an equation that is in factored form, you want to make sure that it is set equal to 0 so you can solve for the solutions. So I'm going to take this x minus 29 on the left and move it over to the right so I can have my equation set equal to 0. So I'm going to rewrite my equation as x minus 29 equals x minus a times x minus 29. And I'm going to subtract x minus 29 from both sides. So that gives me 0 on the left equals x minus a times x minus 29 minus x minus 29. All right, now notice we have two terms on the right side, and both terms contain an x minus 29. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to factor out that factor of x minus 29 from both terms. So I have 0 equals x minus 29 is that common factor. And then from the first term, I have an x minus a left. And then from the second term, I just have minus 1. And if I distributed this back, I would get what I had in the line previously, all right? All right, now, notice we have x minus a minus 1 in this second factor. I'm going to write this a little differently, and you'll see why in a second. I'm going to write this factor as x minus a plus 1 in parentheses. So all I've really done is I've just factored out this minus 1. Notice that if I were to distribute the negative, I'd get negative a minus 1, which is exactly what I had in the previous line. And then times x minus 29 equals 0. All right, so now that my equation is set equal to 0, I can just take each of my factors and set them equal to 0 individually to solve for the solutions. So I'm going to have x minus 29 equals 0. And then x minus a plus 1 equals 0. So solving the first one gives me, if I add 29 to both sides, x equals 29. That's one solution. And then for the second equation, since a was a constant, a plus 1 is also a constant. So I can also add a plus 1 to both sides. So then that gives me x equals a plus 1. So for this equation, since we had two factors, there are two solutions, a plus 1 and 29. A is not a solution based on our work, so we're going to go here with choice C.